certain it was a dog crying like a person locked inside the wind on the glass, a reflection, someone's hand. Gently, he said, don't let it hurt anymore. Some turned off the sound, some cut the frame, some said it was nothing but an accident. But I heard it, a cry slicing through the ribs of the night. The blue whale tries to speak inside the dream, its breath pressed into lies by the waves. I'm fine was the last thing it said, while truth flickered in the deep, sharp as broken glass. I'm certain that wasn't a dog's cry, it was a person forced to laugh out loud. Shadows on the wall shook like madness. Who was commanding and who pretended innocence? The world grew too quiet, too clean, even tears were filtered into approved language. But I heard it, the cry echoing under the water. The blue whale tries to speak inside the dream, its voice pushing through the punishment of the sea. I wanna go home, kept repeating in its soul. Who will hear it? Who will answer? If truth had a voice, it would sound soft and aching like his. It wasn't a cry for rescue, it was the cry of...
Before we start, I want to make one thing clear. What you are about to hear is not a literal word-for-word transcript of the original psychic live stream. I retell everything in my own words, so this channel can stay safe under YouTube's rules. But the meaning, timeline, and key details are kept as close as possible to what was actually said. If you'd like to double-check anything, I always put the original live stream or creator's link in the video description for full transparency. You're very welcome to watch both and compare for yourself. So please don't worry that I'm deleting, twisting, or softening anything. My goal is to protect the original creator, protect this channel, and still let more people understand what was said that night. If you can accept this format, please hit like and subscribe so I can keep making more episodes like this. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. A signal that breaks, a voice that gets pulled away. The final quarter of Ty's November 4th livestream felt different from the earlier parts. Ty's voice no longer moved in normal rhythms. Each sentence sounded like someone was pulling it away from her mouth before she could finish it. Ty mentioned the same parasite energy again, an influence that attaches to a person and drains the person from inside. Ty said the influence returned. Ty said the influence was active around someone she tried to read. Then Ty focused on the date. Ty asked repeatedly, "It is already November 5th in Asia, right?" Ty was not confused about time. Ty was trying to match the timeline of a missing public figure with the last moment that person appeared in the outside world. Ty said information from Deborah, another medium, claimed this person was still alive. But Ty herself could not feel the person's spirit, awareness, or presence. Ty said clearly, "I don't pick up this person's spirit energy anymore. It feels like when a person has passed." Ty asked 3 times for a video, not a photo. Ty insisted that only a video could show whether the body and the consciousness still matched. Ty refused to accept staged images or controlled pictures. Ty repeated, "Where is the face? Where is the video?" Then Ty said something stronger. Ty said Deborah told her the reason they acted. Ty tried to speak, stopped, tried again, and stopped again. Her voice cut in and out, like pressure on her throat. Finally, Ty pushed the sentence out. "They already killed this person." The moment she said it, the energy of the live stream collapsed for several seconds. Her breath slowed. Her rhythm broke. It felt like Ty crossed a line she was not supposed to cross. Ty also described a location, a guarded underground place where someone was held, watched, and restrained. Ty said the person was alive at one point, but no longer reachable in spirit. This entire chapter is the beginning of the collapse, a moment when Ty's voice fought against something unseen, trying to deliver information while another force tried to silence the message. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. The moment the timeline breaks apart. In the second segment of the final quarter of the November 4th livestream, Ty focused on one question again and again. Why is there no real-time video? Ty said controlled images were being released on Weibo. Ty said the posts from the monastery were staged. Ty said every picture looked like a placeholder, not a living person. Ty repeated, "If the person is fine, where is the video? Why is the face missing? Why is the movement missing?" Ty described a strange silence, not physical silence, but an absence of presence. Ty explained that when a person is alive, the person's spirit produces movement, vibration, and recognizable identity. Ty said she sensed none of that. Then she shifted suddenly, as if someone whispered something sharply into her ear. Ty said, "The surroundings of the body feel wrong. The guards feel wrong. The whole situation feels wrong." Ty's phone started overheating during the live stream. She mentioned it twice. The heat of the phone matched the rising turbulence in her voice. Then Ty revealed another piece of information. Ty said Deborah received the reason for the act. Sacrifice, a symbolic offering, a lamb. Ty reacted strongly when she said it. Her breath became heavy. Her voice changed tone, a mixture of anger, shock, and something close to grief. The next statement came out almost like a warning. Another public figure is next. Ty did not name the person at first. Ty hesitated. Ty paused for several seconds. Finally, she said the initials. Then Ty went silent again, for a long, uncomfortable moment. After that silence, Ty spoke about something happening in Egypt. Ty said there was a portal ritual connected to a newly opened Egyptian museum. Ty connected several events: a concert ritual, a giant turtle symbol, references to ancient myth, and a dragon identity placed on someone. The connections were not literal. The connections were symbolic. Ty was describing a pattern of ritual behavior that she believed was used to control public figures, energy, and outcomes. The energy of this chapter is scattered and electric, as if Ty was receiving pieces from multiple directions, unable to fully assemble them into one stable picture. End of Chapter 2.
Chapter 3. The Killer Inside the Live Chat. In the third chapter of the final quarter, the tone of Ty's livestream changed again. This time, Ty was not describing visions. Ty was reacting to something happening inside the livestream itself. Ty said clearly, "There is a killer in this live, a person who is giving clues." Ty was not dramatic. Ty was not shouting. Ty said it in a flat, low, steady voice, the type of voice that appears when someone receives information they cannot ignore. Ty repeated the sentence slowly, as if weighing every word. "A killer is here. The clues are in the comments." Ty then told police officers and private investigators watching the stream to take screenshots. Ty said these comments were self-incriminating. Ty said the person responsible for a previous death was leaving hints in real time. Then Ty focused on a name spelled out slowly, Z-H-A-O. Ty said the person associated with this name had a specific zodiac sign, Aries. Ty corrected herself twice to make sure she was not confusing air with fire. Ty insisted the person was a fire sign. Ty said the spirit of the victim stayed close to all involved individuals, not to Ty, not to Deborah, but to the people who caused the damage. This was the first time during the live stream when Ty's voice felt like it was responding to something inside the room, not outside of it. Ty went quiet for a long stretch. During that silence, the chat kept flooding with guesses, warnings, and sudden panic messages. Ty finally broke the silence by saying, "Do not rush Deborah." Ty said Deborah was receiving information through a machine, but the connection was unstable, blocked, delayed, and crowded by interference. Then came one of the heaviest sentences of the entire broadcast. They held him down and threw him out the window. Ty did not embellish it. Ty did not dramatize it. Ty delivered it like a fact she did not want to say out loud, but had no choice but to reveal. This chapter marks the moment when the investigation moved from psychic vision into a real-time confrontation, as if the live stream had stopped being a performance and turned into a room where victims, witnesses, and perpetrators were all silently present. End of Chapter 3.
Chapter 4. 46, 47, and the basement that should not exist. The fourth chapter begins with Ty entering a new layer of the message, a layer that sounded less like a vision and more like a report of numbers, locations, and categories of people. Ty repeated two numbers with unusual precision: 46, 47. Ty said Deborah mentioned 46 to 47 victims in the basement. Ty emphasized that these victims were not ordinary individuals. Ty described them as wealthy figures, celebrities, public personalities, and children. Ty paused after saying children, as if waiting for confirmation from Deborah's machine. When Ty received confirmation, she said children again, slower, heavier. Then Ty added another category: actors from Hong Kong, actresses from Taiwan, entertainers held inside cages. Ty's voice cracked slightly here, not from fear, but from disbelief that such a list existed. The next detail was even heavier. Ty said the people behind these acts were the richest and most powerful. Ty used a phrase she rarely uses: even pregnant women. Ty did not raise her voice. Ty did not add drama. The weight of the sentence came from the calmness with which she delivered it. Then Ty said something that shifted the tone of the entire broadcast. Do not fear them. Fear God. For several seconds, Ty stopped reading comments. Ty stopped answering questions. Ty spoke directly into the camera, as if addressing someone who was not in the chat, not on the screen. Ty said she felt a wrath coming. Not a metaphorical wrath, not a symbolic wrath, a force connected to judgment. Ty repeated, a wrath is coming. This chapter marks the moment when the live stream stopped being about one missing public figure and expanded into a wider territory of systemic harm, hidden spaces, and ritualized violence. Ty's calmness made it more disturbing. She was not guessing, she was reporting. End of Chapter 4. Chapter 5. The war between good and evil breaks into the room. The fifth chapter begins with Ty shifting from the basement descriptions into something much larger, a moral battlefield. Ty's voice deepened when she said, "This is not a war between religions. This is a war between good and evil." Ty repeated that God did not hate people. Ty insisted that God's nature was love, not punishment. Ty emphasized that evil actions, not identities, created destruction. Ty then spoke about gay individuals who lived with integrity. Ty said many gay individuals worship God, attend church, raise families, and live with commitment and responsibility. Ty said, being gay is not a sin. Evil actions are the sin. This part was not random. Ty said this because she sensed someone watching the live stream who was using religion as a weapon to divide people. Ty strongly rejected that. Then Ty shifted again. Ty spoke about repentance, not in judgment, but as an invitation to reconnect with God before darkness grows stronger. Ty said pregnant women were harmed in ritualistic settings. Ty said the innocence of unborn children was used in symbolic offerings. Ty said the earth was used as an altar. After those sentences, Ty went quiet. The silence was long, heavy, and uncomfortable. When Ty spoke again, her tone changed drastically. She began talking about personal histories, gangsters, former criminals, pimps, strippers, drug dealers, people who changed their lives, people who found new paths through faith. Ty said this to emphasize one point. No past disqualifies a person from choosing goodness. Ty said, "Everyone has a past, everyone has sinned, but everyone can change." Then Ty spoke about how different people convert to Christianity, Catholicism, or Islam, not because of pressure, but because of personal choice. Ty repeated, "God wants people to be happy. God wants people to be grateful for the choices they make." At this moment, the live stream no longer felt like a psychic reading. It felt like Ty was speaking directly to unseen individuals involved in the harm, as if the live stream had become a message of warning, a line drawn in the sand. This chapter is where morality enters the room, not as judgment, but as a declaration. Good and evil are fighting over the same space. End of Chapter 5. Chapter 6. The Collapse of Church and State. The 6th chapter begins with Ty entering a new subject, the failure of institutions that were supposed to protect people. Ty recalled a video she once watched, a video that argued that religion must stay separate from government. Ty agreed with that idea, but this time she connected the argument to something darker. Ty said the collapse of churches did not happen overnight. Ty said the collapse came from within. Fake pastors, false prophets, spiritual leaders with double lives. Ty listed the behaviors that destroyed trust. Leaders sleeping with married individuals, leaders abusing children, leaders stealing money meant for the community, leaders using faith to control people rather than guide them. Ty said plainly, "This is why churches are falling." Then, Ty compared this collapse to governments. Ty said governments were filled with corruption just as churches were. Ty said the two must remain separate because mixing them creates systems where no one is safe. Ty said in some Muslim-majority countries, strict religious law became tied to state law, creating suffocating and oppressive structures where human choice was erased. Ty stressed again the need for separation. Church and state cannot mix. There must be a balance. Then, Ty shifted into a personal memory. Ty described how churches used to be. People cooking for each other, sharing meals, protecting children, taking care of elders, living like an extended family. Ty said those days were gone. Now, Ty said, modern churches are full of gossip, competition, criticism, judgment, and people pretending to be holy. Ty used one specific example, a woman being judged for her clothing. Ty repeated that moment as a symbol of how spiritual spaces lost compassion and replaced it with performance. Ty said she finally understood why many people stopped going to church. Ty said it was not God people abandoned, it was the toxic culture inside the buildings. This chapter reveals a crucial link. The same forces corrupting religious institutions are the same forces harming public figures and children. The corruption comes from power, not belief, from control, not faith. This is the chapter where Ty stopped analyzing individuals and began describing the entire system collapsing from inside. End of Chapter 6. Chapter 7. The Reason People Walk Away from Faith. The 7th chapter begins with Ty returning to a moment inside the live stream when she paused and said, "This is why people stop going to church." Ty explained that many modern churches became social arenas instead of spiritual shelters. Ty said the atmosphere shifted from compassion to comparison, from support to judgment, from sincerity to performance. Ty described a specific moment. A woman judged openly by other church members because her clothing did not fit their expectations. Ty said this was not an isolated incident. It was a symptom of a deeper cultural sickness inside spiritual communities. Ty emphasized that God never demanded perfection. People did. People created standards that God never asked for. Ty reminded viewers that spiritual spaces once offered safety, a place where individuals could cry, repent, rebuild, forgive, and find comfort during hardship. But now, Ty said, those spaces became hostile environments where intentions were doubted, pain was ignored, and broken people were shamed instead of helped. Ty said, people stopped going to church not because they lost faith in God. People stopped going because they lost faith in the people inside the building. Ty's voice softened when she said this, not out of weakness, but from a memory of what those spaces used to feel like. Ty then connected this social decay to the larger corruption she described earlier. When spiritual communities lose compassion, oppressive systems grow stronger. When churches fail, evil finds space to spread without resistance. Ty repeated that God did not change, only the culture around God changed. This chapter shows Ty's deeper grief, not only for the victims in the visions, but for the loss of moral protection that once existed in communities. End of Chapter 7.
Chapter 8. The Collapse of False Prophets. Chapter 8 begins with Ty shifting the conversation toward the people who misuse faith from inside spiritual institutions. Ty said the decline of churches and religious communities was not caused by God leaving the world, but by human leaders abandoning their responsibility. Ty described false prophets, individuals who claimed to be spiritual guides while living double lives. Ty said these individuals publicly preached purity, loyalty, and holiness, yet privately engaged in affairs, exploitation, and predatory behavior. Ty said some of these leaders slept with married men and women, manipulated vulnerable members of their congregations, and even harmed minors. Ty said the moral decay was no longer hidden. The hypocrisy was visible to anyone who paid attention. Ty also pointed out another form of corruption: leaders collecting offering money intended for helping the poor, but using it to pay their personal mortgages, vacations, and luxury lifestyles. Ty said, "This is not faith. This is a business of control." Ty's tone sharpened, not angry, but firm, like someone stating a verdict. She explained that when religious communities lost accountability, they turned into environments where power could be abused without consequence. Ty compared her childhood memories of church, families sharing meals, supporting each other, bringing food to neighbors, praying sincerely for people who struggled, with the current reality she saw today: social competition, gossip, and moral policing replacing compassion. Ty said the spiritual decay reached a point where even genuine believers felt unsafe. Ty argued that when leaders become corrupt, ordinary members lose their way and the entire community collapses from the inside. This chapter is Ty's warning. Faith is not the problem, but the people who manipulate it. End of Chapter 8. Chapter 9. When Corruption Becomes a System. Chapter 9 begins with Ty drawing a direct line between the decay of spiritual communities and the rise of oppressive systems. Ty said that when churches and religious groups lose moral clarity, government corruption grows stronger because there is no longer a moral counterweight in society. Ty referenced a conversation she remembered from earlier years, a person arguing that religion should be kept separate from the government. Ty said she agreed completely. She said religious institutions should never merge with political power, because history repeatedly showed that such unions led to oppression, violence, and silence. Ty explained that many countries suffered when religious law and state law became intertwined. She said that mixing spiritual authority with political authority created systems where dissent was punished, criticism was treated as blasphemy, and moral debate was erased. Ty said, "When church and state become one, people lose protection." Her voice carried a heavy tone as she said that in some regions, Christians were being killed, yet no media or leaders were speaking about it. Ty said this silence showed how deeply compromised the system had become, a system that refused to protect the vulnerable because acknowledging the violence would expose its own failures. Ty emphasized that corruption did not only exist in one region or one belief. She said corruption was global, appearing anywhere leaders used fear, religion, or authority to control people. Ty explained that oppressive governments thrive when spiritual groups are weak because communities no longer have the strength to resist injustice. When religious systems break, society loses a moral compass. Ty then circled back to an earlier point. Churches became sites of gossip, competition, and judgment instead of places of justice and compassion. Ty said that when communities lose the ability to care for each other, they become easy targets for authoritarian control. This chapter reveals Ty's broader worldview. The spiritual collapse she described was not an isolated issue, but a symptom of a world where power, fear, and corruption worked together. End of Chapter 9. Chapter 10. The Death of the Church System. Chapter 10 opens with Ty recalling memories from her childhood, contrasting them with the state of modern churches today. Ty said she grew up in a time when religious communities acted like extended families, where people helped each other without judgment, shared food, shared burdens, and prayed for one another sincerely. But now, Ty said, the system that once protected people has collapsed. Ty described the modern church as a place filled with noise, but empty of meaning. She said small groups no longer gather to support each other. They gather to gossip, compete, and measure who appears more holy. Ty said this shift created a culture where appearance replaced sincerity, performance replaced prayer, and comparison replaced compassion. Ty emphasized that many pastors and spiritual leaders today lived double lives, condemning sins publicly while committing worse acts privately. Ty said this hypocrisy destroyed people's trust, not only in leaders, but in the entire idea of organized faith. She said, "The church system is dead, not because God died, but because people killed what the church was supposed to be." Ty explained that communities used to rely on churches as places of moral structure, emotional protection, and guidance during difficult moments. When these places became toxic, people lost spiritual direction entirely. Ty said the loss of authentic community made people vulnerable to control. They looked for identity everywhere except within themselves, and they listened to anyone who spoke loudly rather than anyone who lived truthfully. Ty's tone in this chapter was not angry. It was mournful, almost like grieving a loved one who changed beyond recognition. Ty said the church's collapse did not happen suddenly. It was a slow death, caused by greed, ego, power struggles, and people choosing image over substance. This chapter shows Ty grieving not for a building, but for the spiritual protection that once existed and no longer does. End of Chapter 10. Chapter 11. When Faith is Used as a Weapon. Chapter 11 begins with Ty addressing one of the most dangerous transformations she sees in the world: faith being turned into a tool for control, fear, and judgment. Ty said the most destructive force is not atheism or disbelief. It is the moment when people use religion to justify cruelty. Ty said corrupted leaders did not simply twist scripture, they weaponized it. Ty explained that when people use faith to shame others, to silence questions, or to elevate themselves above their community, faith stops being spiritual and becomes a weapon. Ty described examples she witnessed personally: communities where parents rejected their children in the name of holiness, where women were publicly humiliated for minor mistakes, where members were taught to fear each other more than God. Ty said, "This is not God. This is insecurity wearing a religious mask." She explained that fear-driven faith makes people easier to control. When people believe they are unworthy, they depend on spiritual leaders instead of God. When they depend on leaders, leaders gain power. Ty said abusive systems grow strongest in these conditions, where guilt becomes a leash, shame becomes a cage, and fear becomes a language repeated every week. Ty emphasized that many oppressive governments use the same tactic, not by banning religion, but by corrupting it from the inside until people no longer recognize what is real. Ty said true faith is liberating, not suffocating. True faith opens a person's heart, not closes it. True faith expands compassion, not destroys it. Her voice softened when she said, "People think they are serving God, but sometimes they are only serving the fear inside themselves." Ty warned that the greatest danger is not external persecution. It is when people willingly hand their conscience to others because they believe obedience is holiness. This chapter shows Ty's belief that spiritual corruption is not just a religious issue, but a psychological and societal problem. End of Chapter 11. Chapter 12. The Warning Hidden Between the Lines. Chapter 12 begins with Ty speaking in fragmented sentences, as if visions were arriving faster than she could interpret them. Her tone shifted from steady narration to sudden interruptions, like she was reacting to something only she could perceive. Ty said there were people in the livestream chat revealing information without realizing it. She warned that among the thousands of viewers, one of the individuals connected to the violence was present, typing messages, leaving clues, and exposing themselves without intention. Ty urged the audience to pay attention not to her words, but to the patterns inside the comment section. She said police officers and private investigators watching the stream should treat the comments as evidence. Ty said, "Someone in this live is giving themselves away." Her tone was quiet, firm, and frightened all at once. Ty then described a scene she perceived: someone being held down, a window opening, a body being pushed outward. She did not refer to it as speculation. She simply reported what she saw. Deborah, the medium Ty often referenced, appeared to confirm the sequence through their spiritual connection. Ty said this was not imagination and not metaphor. To her, it was a replay of what happened. Ty also repeated that she was physically safe, but her spirit guides were restricting how much she could reveal. Her voice trembled slightly when she said they were not letting her speak, as if sharing too many details would put someone else at risk. The emotional pressure grew heavier when Ty mentioned that certain high-profile victims were targeted intentionally, that it was part of a ritualistic pattern, and that more names were already on that list. Ty said, "This is bigger than what people think. This is not random." She spoke about global corruption, dark networks hidden beneath governments, and spiritual manipulation used to mask these operations. But in the middle of all the fear, Ty ended the chapter with a very different message, a plea for grounding, not panic. She said that despite everything she saw, she still chose faith over despair. She told her viewers to stay anchored, protect each other, and refuse to let fear control their decisions. Ty said, "If we lose compassion, we lose everything." This final chapter of the fourth segment captures Ty's exhaustion, her urgency, and her determination to speak even when her voice was shaking. End of Chapter 12.
Episode 4 is not the calmest part of the livestream. In fact, It is the most chaotic quarter of the entire 2-hour broadcast. But because of that chaos, it is also the most honest. Here, you witness a psychic trying her hardest to hold everything together, holding the images, holding the conflict, holding the unknown, holding the pressure, holding the fear that keeps pressing against her voice. You see her resisting collapse, reshaping every fragment she receives into something the world can understand, trying to pull those who were erased back toward the light. That is episode 4, and I will keep retelling what comes next, in a language the whole world can follow, so these messages are no longer trapped in one live stream. If you want to continue this journey with me, please subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts. I'll see you in the next episode.